Hey y'all, TRG here, back with another video, and in today's video we're going to be talking about the potential for a back-to-back severe weather outbreak and even possibly a tornado outbreak for Tuesday, April 2nd. Severe weather threats will be for today, March 31st, April 2nd, as well as April 1st. So let's go ahead and go into today's video. Let's start out here with a broader view of what we are anticipating here over the next couple of hours and as well as the next couple of days. We're going to see this very large positively tilted trough ejection out here in the western southwestern side of the United States. And as we progress towards more of tomorrow, we're not going to see anything well defined today, but tomorrow we do see the potential for a shortwave trough right here to be embedded inside this more elongated positively tilted trough ejection here, and that could cause the potential for significant severe weather out here towards areas like Missouri, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Texas, and maybe even into Illinois, Indiana, and Kentucky for April 1st. And if we go into April 2nd here, Tuesday, we will see that shortwave continues into portions of Kentucky, Tennessee, Indiana, Ohio, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Virginia, maybe even North Carolina, as well as Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia. We'll dive into the risk areas here in just a second. Now, the broader view of what we may see here, if we go ahead and switch our model run to the NAMNIST model, and we go down here to the southern side of our risk region, we're going to be seeing a very large amount of instability that gets pulled on up out in front of this system here for Sunday, March 31st. But we're not going to see much severe weather on this day due to the complete capping in place, which is, of course, today. Now, we do have a slight risk out for more of northern Illinois. I'll show you guys that in just a moment here. But if we go on into April 1st, you'll see this capping starts to lift as we go towards the evening hours. About 2 p.m. on Monday, April 1st, the capping is fully eroded here in the western portion of our risk region where our low pressure is located, and that's where we may start to see some strong to severe storms pop up. Now, the main hazard with this looks to be really extremely large hail, possibly even near 3 inches in diameter, damaging winds from 70 to possibly even 80-mile-per-hour winds, and a few tornadoes, maybe even a strong one, being a possibility for April 1st. Now, April 2nd, that's when predictability gets a little bit lower, but generally we're going to be looking at the same thing, just a lot more of a uncapped environment out here. So we're going to be looking at the potential for multiple, possibly significant tornadoes, damaging winds of about 70 miles per hour, and large hail of around 2 inches in diameter. So the primary threat with April 2nd looks to be your tornado threat. And after this system's really going to move up to the northeast on Wednesday as well as Thursday and turn into more of a bomb cyclone nor'easter and possibly dump as much as a foot in locations of Maine, Vermont, and maybe even northeastern New York as well. Now, here's a look at your SPC outlook for today. We've got that slight risk for severe weather and a larger marginal risk for severe weather around that. So that's a level 1 and a level 2. This is primarily driven by the potential for large hail upwards of 1.5 to 1.75 inch hail, as well as damaging winds at a 5% and tornadoes at a 2%. So mainly we're looking at elevated thunderstorms with a hail threat, damaging wind threat, and a tornado can't be fully ruled out into the overnight hours. Day 2, we've got this much larger marginal slight and even an enhanced risk for severe weather, level 1, 2, and 3 for severe weather out here for April 1st. Tornado threat is at a very large 5% chance over a good chunk of Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, as well as Kentucky, with a larger 2% surrounding that. Wind threat is what's helping to drive the majority of that enhanced risk at a large 15% and 30% chance for damaging winds and a 5% chance around that. And then your hail threat is 30 significant, so this is why I think our hail threat will be the biggest threat, not only because the SPC is saying it, but also because model runs do point towards maybe hinting upwards of 3-inch hail being a possibility for tomorrow. And if we go into day 3, we've got that enhanced risk in place yet again, but this time over Kentucky, Ohio, Indiana, and West Virginia, and a large slight risk yet again around that, around Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, Virginia, Maryland, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana. So that is again a level 1, 2, and 3 threat for severe weather. Now, we don't have any probabilities on this, but it does seem like the tornado threat will be the largest issue with this. Now, turning back on over to our model runs, I want to go ahead and show you guys the precipitation type here, or more of the simulated reflectivity, what we are anticipating for the next few days. So for today, we'll start off up here in the Midwest, and we're expecting this band of really weaker storms, but we could see this an embedded cell that may be a bit on the stronger side. That's why we have that slight risk for severe weather in place, but overall not looking like a very strong setup or potent setup for severe weather for today, March 31st, as opposed to what tomorrow looks like for April 1st. We got this much larger area of severe storms popping up here for the early morning of Tuesday, very late Monday. Monday out here in Oklahoma, Kansas, Arkansas, and Missouri. All hazards on the table. Like I said, really large hail should be the primary issue here. And then we could go up here towards the Midwest, and you'll see this continue into portions of Indiana, Illinois, and Ohio, but is a much weaker, much weaker line of thunderstorms there. So not expecting any widespread severe weather out there for at least Monday, but Tuesday will be y'all's main risk out there for Indiana and Ohio. Now, there's still a bit of uncertainty on exactly where these storms will set up, but we're generally going to be looking at Ohio, Kentucky, and Tennessee, maybe even Mississippi and Arkansas. All hazards once again on the table, and the SPC is already talking about the potential for a greater corridor of tornado potential out here in eastern Kentucky and West Virginia. So quite the large threat for severe weather for tomorrow and April 2nd. Not really looking at too much for today. Again, looking at the broader side of things here, a much larger, elongated, positively tilted trough ejection with an embedded short wave is our setup for this threat for severe weather. Now, I want to show you guys the HRRR because this is one of the models that is disagreeing a bit with other models, which is showing pretty much the same initiation, same threats for tomorrow, but different for April 2nd. The HRRR actually has the threat much considerably more off to the south. So if I look at your supercell composite here, you'll notice the primary tornado threat is focused really over Tennessee, out there in Kentucky, and maybe even in Missouri. And if we look at the NAM3K, you'll see that shifts up for Ohio and Kentucky and Tennessee. So still quite a model difference between these two model runs here. So we'll have to wait for that to work out to really see exactly where the greatest threat for severe weather will set up. But again, we do have a slight risk, marginal risk for today, enhanced risk for tomorrow, and an enhanced risk for day 3. Now, I'm just briefly going to look at this. This is for towards the eclipse. We may be seeing a pattern starting to develop on the model runs here. This is going to be your ensemble mean accumulation for supercell composite. I want to mention this because it does seem like we may have the potential for yet another long, not really long, but multiple day setup for severe weather here. It looks like April 7th all the way through possibly April 11th is what we're watching for the potential of severe weather out here towards Texas, Oklahoma, and Louisiana. So if you guys are planning on watching the eclipse on April 8th, that might interfere with it. We'll just have to watch it really close. And if we look at the 500 millibar mean height, you can see this elongated. This actually looks like a neutral to maybe even a negatively tilted trough ejection here. So could end up being another threat for severe weather out here. Another setup here for severe weather. Again, really the same setup too. For right now, we have this high pressure that's building our ridge up here. That's why we have such high ingredients for tomorrow and even April 2nd, because that ridge has been in place for a solid 3 days. And it looks like that's going to happen towards the or really early portions of April, like April 4th through 7th. We're going to have pretty much that same type ridge setup, maybe even a short duration omega block setup out here for April 7th. And then that's when the trough swings in and possibly uses up those ingredients, and maybe even a significant severe weather threat may be on the table there, but we'll just have to, really determine that the closer we get. So main takeaway, extremely large hail here for tomorrow, April 1st, specifically focused in that 30 significant corridor for severe weather, and specifically large hail out from southwestern Missouri into Oklahoma, and 15 sig into just north of the DFW area. 30 sig also out here for southeastern Kansas, and the main threat again will be hail followed by damaging winds, broader, larger 30% chance for damaging winds there, as well as a 5% chance for tornadoes for tomorrow. And day 3, which is Tuesday, again, enhanced risk for severe weather. We can't look at probabilities for this because it's just one day too far out, but we're really looking at the same hazards with maybe a bit of a lesser wind threat and a little bit less of that hail threat. So mainly a tornado threat is what I'm seeing for Tuesday, but all hazards will still be on the table. And by the way, there's over 140 million people in the risk for severe weather on both day 1, 2, and as well as day 3 all combined. Looking at areas that will be heavily impacted by this for tomorrow, we've got Oklahoma City, we've got Tulsa, Springfield, Jefferson City, St. Louis, as well as out here towards Evansville, Indiana. For April 2nd, we're going to be looking out here for Lexington, Kentucky, Louisville, Kentucky, Elizabethtown, Kentucky, Cincinnati, Ohio, even up towards south of Columbus, Ohio, and as well as out here towards Charleston, West Virginia, and Prestonsburg, Kentucky. So large enhanced risk there as well. So once again, we've got that slight risk for day 1, enhanced risk for day 2, and enhanced risk for day 3. That's going to be it for today's video. It was a little bit of a quicker one. I just wanted to get this done and out there so that way you guys would be hyper weather aware. I'll be live here on the channel March 31st in just about 4 hours, 9 p.m. Eastern is when I'm planning on going live here, and we'll be covering this threat for multiple hours on April 1st and April 2nd. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day and Easter. Stay safe, watch the severe weather. Goodbye.